Hopefully I've got enough battery to do this. Okay, so as you know, or may or may not know, the 7530 had problems when we were down in North Carolina. And I've already started the job, but the problems that I had in North Carolina are quite simple. The brakes went bad. Yep, the brakes went bad. So what I'm doing is I'm using my track jack. You can buy these things. This was so easy to put on. I just backed up with my 3-point hitch, hooked in and lifted her up, raised the whole tractor off the ground. I've used this several times. Haven't been able to use it since my skid steer was broken, but since I've repaired it, I can get to it very easily. If you're overseas, you can get that there, Track Jack, PFE. And sold and serviced. This guy, I believe, is in Canada. I'm pretty certain he is. You can check that out there. This thing was given to me to use, and I actually like it. When we're using it, I like it. I really do. I think it's great. I really enjoy the use of it. So, with that being said, I have to remove the wheels, both sides, and I'm going to do both sides before I really dig into it. And there's a whole bunch of stuff back here that is just for this machine. And I've got a feeling, I'm not 100% certain this feeling, but I think the John Deere dealer doubled the order because these parts are over $4,000, and it just doesn't seem quite right to me that they are. So anyway, I don't have a breaker bar big enough to tear these off of here, but I do have a torque wrench, which can obviously be used as a breaker bar. So that's what I'm doing. I actually got 2 of them broke loose, and yeah. This thing is old as dirt. When I say old as dirt, I'm not kidding you. It's old as dirt. The 1-inch impact gun does not have enough oomph to break it loose. I don't know why, but it doesn't. There's just a lot of torque. There's just a lot of torque on these things. And I actually thought that it was backwards thread, like left-handed thread. But they were put on dry in England or wherever, Germany, where this thing was built. I almost guarantee you that they've never been taken off. There it is. And I need this tractor terribly. I need my stack wagon going. So what I'm probably going to do is have this thing running today. Teresa's baling. Timothy is raking. Dad was raking, but he's got shoulder issues, so he can't go all day like he used to. And I don't really want him to hurt himself any worse than what he's already got. And he's going to fill Lewis's trailer up. Okay, hopefully we're good. Be torque wrench. And okay, hopefully this guy. I need the 12 milliamp battery. I've only got the 8. Crazy. Paint. It's paint. There's paint on the inside of these locks. So I'm going to use my Freol here. Give me a minute. Now, I've never tore the brakes apart on a 7530. So it's going to be a learning experience for both of us. And there's always one in the crowd, right? Kidding you, there's always one in the crowd. It's hot. It's definitely getting hot. There's a lot of torque there. Oh yeah, we'll get it though. That is a stripped stud. Big time stripped stud. What it look like on the back side. Right. Huh. Wonderful. That means I got to cut that off of there. Okay, let me find some other tool of destruction. Here's like marbles in there. All right. Let's see what we got. See, I've never done this before, but at least I can look in under here at all kinds of stuff. That track jack really makes things easy, in my opinion. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the air and I'm going to blow all this off of here. My end goal is inside there. So as far as this is concerned, not really a concern. I can just pop that off of there. One way or the other, whether I drop this plate down and let it flop onto the track jack. Same thing with this stuff here. This is a cab mounting. This cab is on a it's on air suspension, or not air, hydraulically suspended. This cab is so. And I've never greased that grease zerk, so that's gonna have to get done while I'm in here. But I'm gonna clean all that up and then start taking apart the shielding. At least I'll be able to see what the shielding is, and then see what I really have to get into underneath there. I may have to jack up the cab a little bit and remove all that stuff. And then, because it's on an accumulator, so this is the accumulator. It's only a little guy. It's nitrogen filled. That's what takes all the shock out. It still functions. And I think I'll be all right, but there's a little bleed valve there. So I got to be careful. I don't really want to break that away because A, it makes a mess. B, I think I could just take it all off and set it to the side there. There should be enough room. This guy here, that's on hoses as well. I don't know what this is. Piston accumulator. That's what this guy is. So it's a multitude of weird shit up in there. But anyways, let me shut up and do my job. About 5 years ago, I was down at Milford Auto, down in Frenchtown, New Jersey. Frenchtown is a little town, not far from here, maybe 4 or 5 miles. 4 or 5 miles. And I had bought some Carlisle tools from down there. And Carlisle tools are made in Taiwan. I mean, it's just a fact. That's where they're made, in Taiwan. Now, I have to say, Taiwan tools, the people from Taiwan 30 years ago didn't make the greatest tools in the world, but with everything else in the world, they either had to improve or get out. So, anyways, as I'm walking out the door with this Carlisle set, it was a metric set, so where else better to get a metric set than Carlisle, right? And they're Napa. And I will tell you, Carlisle tools work really, really well. So, I'm out in the parking lot, and I'm just about to my truck, and these two young fellows, maybe 18 and 19 years old, come up to me. They're going into the store there, And like, Carlisle, oh, there's a real amateur. Okay, so I'm a real amateur, right? So there's a real amateur. And I was like, really? Why? What do you mean? Why am I an amateur? Oh, you're buying the junk out of Napa. I was like, it's not junk, works just fine. Doesn't cost that much, and is there something better? Oh yeah, there's way better. You should buy Snap-on. I've got a full lineup of Snap-on tools at home. I've been using them my whole life. I laughed, I said, well, for somebody who's still wet behind the ears, that's really not that long. I says, okay. I says, I generally buy Craftsman tools because I like Craftsman. They have a really good return policy. You know, you break it, they replace it. It just can't be rusty. That's it, the whole thing. So if you do break a Craftsman tool, they replace it. Free of charge. If it's rusty, go over to Wire Wheel, wire brush the rust off of it, take it in, and there you go. So if you look in my toolbox here, you'll see the majority. I mean, I think that's a master hand, whatever. I don't know that. I don't know where that came from. But the majority of these tools are Craftsman tools. They have rust on them. Sure, they got some rust on them, you know, but there's a mishmash of everything, and they're in here. I mean, they're Craftsman tools, but I do have some Carlisles, and I like the Carlisle tools. I can go to Napa, which is right down the road here, and just take this ratchet here. This thing is really cool. So you want to turn it over? You just turn it over, right? It's got a swivel eye on there. Now, I wouldn't go yanging on this thing like to break something loose, even though it does have a really long bar on it. We have these for that, and I do believe this one is this is a Proto. Protos are a higher dollar tool, but I also have this Craftsman, mostly Craftsman tools. This particular ratchet here, this one, I got for Christmas when I was 16 years old. I have used this tool. I'm 49, so it would be, yeah, how many years is that? 16, 26, 36, 46, so that's 33 years. I've been using this wrench for 33 years. Those children that were kind of laughing at me and making fun of me, this socket as well, this is a 3/4 inch socket. I've been using it on this ratchet for 33 years. So for 33 years, I've been using these tools to no problems. I did actually break this ratchet at one time, but the really cool thing is, right there is a snap ring. You go down to, well, it used to be Sears. I don't know if Sears is even in business anymore, but I can go to, I think Lowe's is now carrying Craftsman. I know Kmart carried Craftsman, but Fastenal, I believe, is a Craftsman dealer now. If I break that ratchet again, I can always just, you know, go get the guts, put it in there, and this wrench will be like new. And to prove that I've used it for 33 years, you can see that the chrome is wore off. The end of this ratchet is worn off, it's gone. I like the rough finish ones. They're easier on your hands, believe it or not. So anyhow, that's just what I wanted to say about that Craftsman tools are just as good as Snap-on for about half the price. I've had to replace some Snap-on things, and there are things that Snap-on does offer that Craftsman doesn't, and I have had to purchase those little items, like the socket that takes the nut or the bolt out of the bed of a 2020 Ford F-350. I did have to do that. So, but anyhow, yeah. What I am doing here is I'm actually going to wire tie this accumulator up out of my way, if I can find a spot. I'm pretty sure I can find a spot. Right? Is there a spot there? I'll find a spot. Trust me. Anyway, so what I'm doing is I'm just doing this. So give me a break. I'm going to give me a break. You don't have to give me a break. I'm going to put this camera on a charger, and I've got this all off. This all has to come off. I can pop that guy out of there. I am going to have to jack this tractor up, which I can do right here on the frame. So that's what I'm gonna do to remove that section, and then it should be pretty easy to just drop that axle out. I'm gonna bring the skid steer in, and I'm going to suspend it with a chain on a pallet fork, pick it up out of there, and you get to see all the fun stuff that's inside, because there's a lot of fun stuff inside. All right, so here we go. I've had to do a bit of a, I wouldn't say a trick, but I've had to do a bit of the, well, I guess I could call it a trick. My camera, these GoPro cameras just do not have the longevity when it comes to keeping power. The battery life sucks. Matter of fact, there's a lot of things about the GoPro camera that suck, but they seem to redeem themselves in the quality. So what I've got is I have to drain the oil out of this case real quick. Well, I'd say real quick. I'm sure there's a few people that are saying, "Oh my God, we're the only farmers under the tractor." I hope it falls on them. You know, there's always somebody that hopes it falls on me. Right? I've given up the bitch mittens for a little bit for the simple reason I don't have time for them. This oil is nothing but full of metal shavings. You can see it's just metal shavings. So this is going to be a pain in the ass. This actually has to go through the burner. I have a heater that I use and a waste oil heater. So I run all my hydraulic and engine oil that I have left over, goes through the waste oil heater. So this actually creates a little bit of a vacuum. When I'm done draining this case, I'm going to go ahead and pull the screen out of the face of it. I'm almost ready to pop this stub off. I'm going to bring the skid steer in, and I'm going to set it underneath here. It's kind of square there, and then I'm going to strap it. Ow, 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 ow. Boy, that thing was sharp. Oh, there's a fish hook on there. Yeah, that's no good. I don't like that. John Deere, I'm actually going to chase these threads because John Deere did not do a good job of putting these the wheels on with that thing. They made they put it on dry, which, I don't know. Some people like to put stuff on dry. I like to put things on with a lubrication. Yeah, it changes the torque spec, but not by a hell of a lot. And it's easier to take them off. So I will be using a grease on that, like a, whether it's a moly grease or a, what do you call it, a lithium, or even a graphite grease. That's graphite grease over there. It was something that Carl had brought. This is going to be fun. It's always fun in games, you know. You take that plug out of there. You try not to make too big of a mess, but you know what? Anyway, I've got y'all hooked up. Oh my God, I spilled it. I got you hooked up to a electric cord. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this out, dump it out, pull that screen, and I'll show you what I'm talking about inside. But I'm going to dump this oil, drain it out, and then I'll be in with the skid steer. So give me a minute. Be careful, I messed you up. To a point, yeah. Old age.
Not as bad. There's some of them though. I guess Jimmy Chalupa in bad shape. Gonna die.
Oh yeah? Sounds about him.
I guess throat cancer.
Did he smoke?
No, he never smoked. Healthiest man you ever wanted to.
Huh. Yeah. I've heard that crap before.
Yeah, but he wasn't. He didn't smoke. He didn't chew.
He was around somebody somewhere. Well,
he warped.
Look at that. Huh?
Staying hot. The end of his driveway. That's when he finished it off.
No. I finished it off in North Carolina.
You know, that'd be a good thing to shoot at.
Bing! Oh yeah, you cut a ring down through it. It would ring.
It would ring anyway.
Oh God. Okay. Yay! Okay, so here's the carnage. It's not bad. Let me pop my what's it off of there. It's not terrible. It's not great. So I'll go through the old parts and I'll go through the new parts, and I will show you what I got in here. All right, so in this particular piece of equipment, there's sealing rings. There's one here, and there's one, let me walk over to the truck, and there's one here. This is the old part. So what I'm gonna do real quick is flip this over, and you can see that that has worn away a fair amount of material. Here's the new one. Now this is worn down below by quite a bit. Wore that out. And then if you look at the new one, it is actually this, the bed of this, or the face of this brake, I would call this a, well, I would call it a rotor, but it's not. I don't know what they're calling it, but it actually is raised above this part. So what you have is these little guys here. Okay, so each one of these, there's 3 of them, they're to press on this. So when you put your foot on the brake, and they're self-adjusting, they slide through. I'm going to show you. They're self-adjusting. When they bottom out that spring, then they push the rest of the way through here. So these are shot. They have moved through their positions and boom, out the back. There is a place for them in the back of this here, which you're not going to be able to see, but I'm going to show you anyway. Right here, these little pockets, there's holes. That pocket, it's a dead or blind-sided hole, so that thing, this little guy here, as it wears the shoes and everything, it can actually adjust and push its way through until it's worn out, and then you get all that nice grinding sound in the metal. This guy here, is warped, for one. Ow. Years ago, when I did the 4320, I got cut by one of these. You can see it's a dish, and it's supposed to be perfectly flat, and it's not supposed to look like that. It's definitely not supposed to have that scraping in there, because that is where the, that's where it was rubbing up against the, what's it there? Rubbing up against the other plate, or the, I'd call them plates. So get this. Here's another little fun fact about John Deere. It takes a special Loctite. It's not Loctite, but it's a sealant. It takes a special sealant. There's no gaskets in these, and you take this number 574, and for some reason it was unavailable to me unless you bought it from John Deere, and I'm sure somebody's going to say, oh, you can buy that from your local Loctite dealer. Well, you're probably right, but I don't know a local Loctite dealer. So anyway, this is the new brake disc, okay? So, that disc is pretty simple. Pull this guy out of here. I'm going to give you a bit of an education here. So this disc obviously is here, and you can see the wear on it. On this one, see where those little doodads here? This is the way they rub. And all that is when you put your foot on the brakes, it compresses that spring, and when you release it, that spring pushes it out. And when it bottoms out, it will actually move slowly through the holes on the other plate. So anyhow, this guy here goes like a cell in there. Okay, just like that. Just like that. So that's how that goes in there. And that little guy, you know, I'll go through this whole thing as we go. This is the other new one. I'm going to take this guy to the press, and I'm going to press those little pieces in there. And this goes like that on the inside. And I do believe I'm upside down. Or does it matter? I don't think it does. Not on this guy anyway. On the other one, I think it was supposed to. So, anyhow, there's no specific way that it goes other than like that. So inside the machine, that's what it looks like with these little things here, pressed in here like that. okay? You press them in, and then, like I said, as the friction disc wears, it will actually, because that's like a roll pin. It is a roll pin, or a spring pin, not a roll pin. That's a spring pin. And this little guy here acts as a piston, a little spring doodad. So as this thing wears, it will actually move up through until it, boom, kicks out the bottom. So I will be putting those in so that the bottom of the spring is flush with the bottom of that. And before I do that, I'm going to take this brake disc and I'm going to soak it in oil. I'm going to soak it in oil. What kind of oil? Well, I'll tell you what kind of oil. I'm going to put it in hydraulic oil because that's what it is. It runs in. It runs in hydraulic oil. So I will do that right now. Just going to dribble it on there. It won't take much to soak it up. I'm just going to dribble brand new fresh oil onto that thing. And that'll get it where it needs to be. So if you put this thing together dry, and then the first time you put your foot on the brake, it will chatter and delaminate this pad, or these pads, because there's multiple pads. You can see how they're put on there. They're precision cut, right? This is not just one ring. It's got precision cut pieces that they put in there. So yeah, and that's how that goes. So anyhow, I'm gonna go find some oil and I'll be quiet and I'll get on to this job. And hopefully I'm back running again today, which I will be because I'm not quitting until I'm done tonight. I'm gonna have Therese. Therese is bailing, by the way. She's doing a great job. She's bailing. I'm working on this and life will be good. So yeah, I'm going to leave that ceiling ring that's in there. I'm not taking that ceiling ring out. The problem with this whole thing is, oh, let me get on here. It doesn't need to be that dark. The problem is, lighting has to be right. The problem with that ceiling ring is that they're in Atlanta, Georgia. And they've been in Atlanta, Georgia for 2 weeks. The long and the short story of this, and not to be political, I'm political enough, and actually I'm not political, I'm just an American that sees injustices in our system, and it needs to be stopped. But, you know, I'm just a dumb farmer from New Jersey, so what can I do other than get on my soapbox and talk? But the stimulus checks, the $300 or $600 every 2 weeks, or $300 extra every 2 weeks, or whatever it is that they're giving these unemployment checks, or, you know, that is hurting the country. It's not helping anybody. It's hurting the country. And it's preventing shipping. Oh, and handling. The handling part is when you actually have to pull it off of the shelf and then put it in a box and then send it to the shipper. Well, those people aren't even working either. And don't get me started, because I'm already upset enough by this whole thing. The great thing is, hopefully it comes to an end, but the great thing is that it's just costing everybody. And it's going to cost the end user, and when the end user, not the 1% that actually feed the country, the 5% that actually haul this stuff, you know, those people, the shippers right now, like Steve, you know, Mudflaps, he's making money hand over fist because he's got more work than he can ever handle, which kudos to him, it's great. For farmers, you know, low pricing for many, many years, oh, don't worry, it's coming full circle. And the end user being the guy who can't feed himself, the guy who can't go package something up, the guy that can't go down to the brick and mortar building anymore because that's all sealed up, he's the guy that's going to pay. And when he starts paying, that guy, or when these stimulus checks stop coming in because people like me decide that we've had enough, that's when shit will get done. The small 1%, 5% of people, they can complain until they're blue in the face. Nobody does a damn thing about it. So those O-rings have been in Atlanta, Georgia for 2 weeks. More than 2 weeks. 2 weeks. 2 weeks, so that'd be 10 days, and Monday and Tuesday. So that is 12 days. They haven't even shipped out of Georgia yet. Crazy. So I have to reuse my old ones. They'll be all right. They're not hurt or damaged in any way. So I'll just put them on new. I'm going to very gently take it off of that unit and put it onto the new unit and go from there. So here we go.